This commentary, I kind of want to talk on a pretty broad subject that kind of affects all of us, and I want to focus on like online play versus local play. And I mean, online gaming's been around for a while. I mean, it's been around on the PC. I've been exposed to it for quite a while, but it really became a pretty big thing after it was introduced with consoles, which didn't really happen too long ago. I mean, last generation with the Xbox. I mean, that's kind of where console players were really introduced with online play. And I mean, the PS2, like, it had online, but it wasn't really a large component of the console. And in terms of competitive online play, I mean, games like Halo 2 and Rainbow Six, these were huge players that attributed to competitive play on the console front. And when it comes to online, I mean, there's a lot of good things that obviously came from online gaming. I mean, now you can play with more people that you might not have before instead of like being limited to like your local friends and stuff, and you can meet new people, etc., around the globe. But I mean, there is one thing I really want to hit down, and that's like the lag. And I mean, this is something that affects everyone who plays online game one time or another. You've experienced lag, and it's really frustrating when you have to deal with it, but it's something we just have to deal with as online players. And in terms of lag, I mean, there's quite a few reasons why people lag. I'm not sure if I need to explain why, but whether it's people have worse internet, I mean, they live far away from you. This is a pretty large factor too. I mean, for example, people who might live in Europe or Japan, these people might have better internet than you, but they'll still be laggy because they're just simply far away. One thing I really want to focus on real quick is the U.S. does not have that good internet. I mean, a lot of people who play online in the U.S., for example, there's not a lot of internet companies that provide internet service here, which is pretty unfortunate. And because there's so few companies competing for your dollar, this results in less competition, and these companies not really having to really step up their game in terms of net speeds, which is unfortunate because countries that do have good internet, they often have a large breadth of internet providers, and so they have to kind of compete for their consumers' dollar and step up their game and provide faster speeds than blah 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 company. So I mean, you've heard this before most likely, but competition in the market is always good. It promotes better things for consumers. And it's unfortunate the US kind of suffers from lack of, I don't know, competitiveness in like internet service providers, because kind of we suffer for this. And I try to get the best internet I can, whatever's available, but sometimes you get screwed. I mean, sometimes you're stuck with that Time Warner. I mean, it's a funny joke, but I think Time Warner is kind of terrible from what I've heard and what I've seen. But I mean, it sucks when people kind of get gypped in terms of what they can do in internet. It's not really their fault. And in some other foreign countries, people also get that same case where they're in a country that's underdeveloped and they're playing online games and their internet's not very good, and they kind of get the short end of the stick, and it affects other people who have to play against this person with bad internet, and it's just bad in general. I mean, a lot of people like to. I like hearing people say like, "Oh man, if we had dedicated servers, this wouldn't be a problem." It's pretty funny when people say that, because this kind of mentality is kind of like what came from the PC elitists anyway. Like, "Oh, we have dedicated servers. We don't have that peer-to-peer crap." But it's pretty funny because when it comes of internet, I mean, I'm not an internet wizard, but the future of internet's kind of widely been accepted to be peer-to-peer or P2P. It's not really dedicated servers because of how much money it costs to maintain this sort of thing. And a lot of people like to say, "Oh, just that dedicated servers and the lag would disappear." I mean, it would greatly help, but it wouldn't be very cost-effective for a lot of the people who would be, holding up these servers. And it's pretty interesting when I hear people just say, "Add dedicated servers," like that magically fixes lag of some sort. It's an interesting mentality that a lot of people have, but it's not a fully educated understanding of this is how you fix lag. I mean, it's just always going to be there. Even when I've played on PC and there's dedicated servers, I've seen lag. This doesn't fix anything. It's definitely better than peer-to-peer at the moment, I would say. Definitely. That's definitely true. But is it the ultimate solution? Definitely not. I mean, until everyone's kind of had developed internet across the world, I mean, lag's just always going to be there. And I mean, even if everyone kind of was on the even playing field in terms of internet, if there's like a universal like speed in terms of internet, there'd still be lag because I mean, people are far away from you. That distance, there might be a time when internet overcomes this, when the speeds finally overcome the distance, and it'll be as seamless as like LAN or local play. But I'm sure that's pretty far off, definitely. And I mean, in terms of lag, Uncharted, I chose Uncharted gameplay because it's pretty special in this game, because this is not the case for a lot of games where being laggy in Uncharted is surprisingly of benefit to you. I mean, oftentimes people joke about this guy's so laggy he doesn't die, or this guy's a bullet sponge, or this guy, he has the shotgun assault rifle AK that like blows up in my face and I don't even know what hit me. I mean, it's an interesting situation in Uncharted because this is not common in other shooters. When I play other shooters, usually being laggy is of great detriment to you. Like on Call of Duty or maybe Battlefield or Counter-Strike, being laggy, like, people, you'll shoot them a million times, they won't die because your connection's terrible, or people will kill you instantly because their internet's better than yours and you just drop instantly because of how it works. In Uncharted, that's not the case. People who have shoddy internet or are farther away from you, often they have quite a few advantages over you, and it's kind of unfortunate that's kind of works. I think it's good when a game like punishes people for being laggy, but I understand that sometimes people don't really control what type of internet they have or where they live, and that's the biggest problem with online gaming. I mean, there's a lot of good things to be said when it comes to what it did and how many people could play now against each other, but I mean, lag's just always going to be there, and it's unfortunate. It does ruin competitive play or just play in general for quite a few people. Whether you're playing public matchmaking or playing a serious like match against another team, it affects just about any aspect of online gaming. It's truly unfortunate, and maybe one day we'll get past this, but I mean, it's probably going to be here for a while. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And I mean, lag in terms of like when it benefits one player, I mean, I'm not talking about lag switches because that's totally different, but it can be really annoying. But I think the biggest annoyance to me when it comes to lag is when it affects the entire game. For example, the host migration thing that kind of like deterred a lot of people from playing Black Ops after a while was pretty ridiculous. I mean, I would legit play a match or two tops if it was a good day without the host migrating. I mean, the entire game freezes, everything stops, and it's really annoying when this happens. And I think that's my most annoying type of lag, because it affects everyone and it breaks the flow of the game. Whereas if one person is just lagging, maybe you can avoid them or something, or you can just, I don't know, figure out a way to cope with it because it's just one player. But when the lag just affecting the entire match or the entire game, it's really, really annoying to me. That's probably my biggest gripe when it comes to lag. That being said, in Uncharted, once one person's lagging, it's pretty annoying too, but maybe, like I said, you can avoid them and stuff. But I mean, in terms of online play, I mean, it's good. Thankfully, it's promoted a lot of competitive play in quite a few platforms, but there's never going to really be anything quite like LAN or local play. And I mean, a lot of competitive games that are on a pretty big like platform in terms of pen play usually they'll have like online leagues where you play against these teams. And people, like, I've seen a lot of this where, like, people complain, oh, this guy, he's only good because he's got the fast connection or something, and let's see how he does on a LAN and stuff. And there is a pretty big difference when it comes to people who play online games competitive and then who people play, like, at LAN events. I mean, I've attended quite a few LAN events when I was, like, playing Super Smash Bros. Competitive and Counter-Strike and tournaments. It was a lot of fun. And there's always this stigma around, like, how good is this guy on the internet versus how good is he locally. I mean, there's quite a few aspects to, like, LAN versus online. I mean, there's no lag in LAN, which is one huge advantage to some people and a pretty disadvantage to some people, because, I mean, for example, in COD, some people have, like, the best internet, some people have, like, slightly worse. And then they go to a LAN event, and these kids who have, like, the fastest internet available to them suddenly aren't really, like, having, like, that internet advantage over, like, the people who have, like, worse internet, and they'll perform a little bit worse on the LAN, whereas some people who might have had to cope with that handicap of having inferior internet suddenly are much better because they don't have to deal with that handicap anymore. And that would probably be the same case with Uncharted, which I think there might have been one LAN for Uncharted. It's unfortunate because I really wish Uncharted was bigger and there'd be more LAN events. I'd definitely attend for sure. But, I mean, people who are really lagging Uncharted, if there's a LAN event, they wouldn't have that advantage of being bullet sponges anymore. They'd be on the same, like, internet connection as all of us, or there wouldn't be any. There'd just be LAN. They'd be on the same playing field on that aspect, and it really, like, removes that one giant hindrance that always hinders online play, which is that lag, in a sense. And it really would be, like, the best way to measure, like, how good people are, honestly. I mean, people joke about, oh, this guy's not even good, like, he's just good at online, and then you play him in a LAN and he's nothing. I mean, it's unfortunate that Uncharted never really had a lot of LAN events, because it did become pretty competitive, as I said, in terms of Frag Nation, and I'd really love some LAN events. And it's on that topic, Uncharted 2 didn't even have LAN, which I think is pretty disappointing, because it was probably the best competitive like game for a while in terms of balance and stuff, and that didn't even have LAN, whereas Uncharted 3 does have LAN, and there was like maybe one LAN event for it. And it's definitely true. I mean, outside of like there being no lag, one thing there's a huge difference between LAN versus online is people, oftentimes when you go to a LAN, where I've been to one, there's going to be other people and they're going to be watching you, and that's a huge factor in terms of how some people play. Like, it definitely affects people. I mean, me personally, I don't really mind people watching me play, so much as like there's this thing me and my friends had back in the day, and we'd like play local like Halo and stuff back in the day, Halo Combat Evolved and stuff. There'd be like, oh, you're backseat gang me, or we do split screen, and they'd be like, oh, you're cheating because you're looking at my screen, we're split screening, childish stuff like that. But I mean, I like these sort of minor gripes. It's just something among my friends. This isn't really common, but I mean, an online LAN, as I'm saying, LAN, you're gonna have people watching you. There's gonna be like an audience, sort of. At least with the LANs I've been to, there's a few people watching you. Super Smash Bros. Or Counter Strike when I played, they're watching you play, and that affects some people. Like some people really can't handle like, I don't know, competing or playing against in front of other people. And it's pretty interesting to see if people can really cope with that, because that's another challenge that comes with being competitive. Oftentimes, like having to deal with the fact that people are going to watch your games and stuff, and how does that affect you? Does the pressure get to you? And I mean, it's a shame we're never going to really get to see that with Uncharted. Maybe we will down the road with future titles. I'm not really sure. I don't really think so, but it'd be really cool to see like some of these good players like play in front of people, or some of these players who are really laggy, like play on a LAN local, and like see if they're like perform as well as they do when they compete online. Because I mean, they're not going to have that internet advantage anymore. And the people who do have the internet disadvantage, or whatever game you're playing, they might be better because they don't have that hindrance anymore, that sort of handicap. And that's honestly why I still love LAN. I mean, fighting games, anytime you see a fighting event, there's always going to be like a LAN competitive. They do play some online like competitive matches, but the big tournaments are always local and stuff. That's always going to be the case until like internet maybe gets up there. And that's about it. This is pretty short. I just wanted to touch on like the general subject of lag and LAN and stuff and online play. And I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on your experiences with lag and online play. So leave a comment below if you can, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.